This is Noah, back with another reflective episode where we unravel life's little miracles, the stories behind them, and how they shape our hearts and minds. Today I want to talk about something that started as a simple photograph from my friend Grant and ended up unveiling an entire world of meaning. We'll explore how a single shaft of light in a moody sky can speak volumes about hope, connection, and the hidden details that make life so captivating. I know that might sound like a lot to ask of a single image, but trust me, sometimes all it takes is one well-timed shot to remind us of the bigger picture we're all part of. Over the next half hour or so, I'll share the full story of this photo, why it resonates so deeply with me, and how it ties into themes like creative spontaneity, faith, and the grace we find in unexpected places. If you've listened to my previous episodes, you know I'm all about weaving together different threads: photography, personal history, spirituality, everyday wonder, into one big, cozy quilt of perspective. So, grab your favorite drink, settle into a comfy chair, or pop in those earbuds if you're on the go. Let's take a mindful journey together. Let me start by painting a picture of what Grant captured. Imagine the Faroe Islands, remote, rugged, breathtakingly beautiful. Grant was there, driving along, minding his own business. The sky had turned brooding and dark, those types of clouds that threaten a downpour any minute. Meanwhile, the waters below were eerily still, mirroring the gloom above. Suddenly, a beam of light sliced through the clouds, like a stage spotlight in the midst of a dramatic play. It was such a powerful, fleeting vision that Grant literally stopped the car. "Stop the car!" he cried, and jumped out to snap a photo, handheld. No tripod, no waiting for the perfect setup, just a quick, intuitive moment of seeing something magical and deciding it was worth capturing. When I first saw the photo, I was struck by the contrast. You have these heavy, dark clouds dominating most of the frame. The sunlight, a single shaft, is so delicate and narrow you could almost miss it if you blinked. And yet that faint glow transforms everything. It gives depth to the water, adding gentle highlights to the waves, and offers a subtle, comforting sense of grace to the entire scene. It's not your bright, cheery postcard by any means, but it's a reminder that even the darkest moments can hold a quiet kind of beauty. Now, here's the part that really got me. In the photo, if you glance quickly, you'll see what Grant saw: a moody sky, dramatic interplay of clouds and light, and a swath of still water. It was already a stirring image. But if you zoom in, really zoom in, you'll notice a little village tucked away on the far side of the inlet. I actually stumbled upon it by accident. I double-clicked on the picture to see more detail, and there it was. A cluster of tiny rooftops, faint silhouettes of houses and buildings. People living their lives under this exact same sky. That discovery changed the entire tone of the photo for me. Suddenly, it wasn't just about nature's spectacle. It was about humanity living in tandem with it. In that moment, I felt like I was peering into an intimate story that was quietly unfolding under these grand clouds. The village existed whether or not we took notice of it. Life carried on. But my awareness of it, my recognition, made the scene so much richer. It reminded me that in our own lives, we might be the village, going about daily routines under metaphorical storm clouds, often unaware of the profound beauty swirling above us. I'm big on the concept of pausing, taking just an extra moment to really notice what's happening around us. In a world that loves to hustle, pausing can feel counterintuitive, even wasteful. But here's the thing. Without that pause, we risk missing those subtle miracles. We might skim through a photo and say, "Yeah, nice sky," and move on, never realizing there's an entire community tucked away in the corner of the image. This ties back to how I approach a lot of my own creative outlets, whether it's photography, podcasting, or simply writing in my journal. If I don't slow down enough to look closer, I can miss what's right in front of my eyes. And I believe that's true for many of us. We get so preoccupied with the surface, headlines, immediate impressions, to-do lists, that we rarely zoom in. So Grant's photo serves as a gentle reminder. Slow down, look deeper, and be open to surprises. Grant's stop the car moment speaks to another theme I love: creative spontaneity. Often we think we need the perfect conditions, ideal lighting, a top-notch camera, or a meticulously planned setting. Grant didn't have any of that. He had a fleeting moment and enough trust in himself to say, This is worth capturing. He didn't even use a tripod, which can be a photographer's best friend for clarity and stability. And yet, the shot came out beautifully. I've had similar moments in my own life. Those times I've followed an instinct to capture or create something without worrying too much about the final product. Sometimes I've ended up with an amazing outcome. Other times, it's just an interesting flop. But I never regret trying. The spontaneity itself is valuable. It fosters a mindset that embraces the now, the ephemeral magic of a single second. It's like the difference between planning a dinner party a month in advance versus inviting friends over at the last minute because the mood just feels right. Sure, you might lack the perfect table setting, but the authenticity of that gathering can be priceless. Photographers talk a lot about the decisive moment, a term famously associated with Henri Cartier-Bresson. It's that exact fraction of a second when all the elements of a scene align to tell a powerful story. I think we experience these decisive moments in life all the time, not just through a camera lens. They're those brief windows where we feel an urge to act or observe or connect. We either seize it or we don't, and if we don't, the moment passes and we might not get it back. In a way, Grant's photo is a microcosm of this idea. Dark clouds, still waters, a sudden beam of light. Snap! If he'd waited another 15 seconds, that light might have shifted, hidden by the clouds. The reflection on the water might have changed. A boat could have passed by, rippling the surface. The village might not have been as visible. So, deciding to act spontaneously was key to freezing that exact magic. Now let's talk about the emotional layers here. A moody, overcast sky can be a metaphor for our toughest days, when everything seems to loom overhead, casting a shadow over our emotions, our hopes, our sense of possibility. Yet the single shaft of sunlight in this image offers a deep sense of grace. It suggests that hope can always find a way through, no matter how heavy the clouds. I've been exploring my own relationship with faith and hope recently. I've mentioned in past episodes that faith, for me, isn't strictly religious. It's an openness to the idea that there's something bigger than me at play, whether you call it God, the universe, or just the natural unfolding of life. And I've found that the times I've felt most alone or overwhelmed, a small beam of light can shift my perspective. It might be a supportive text from a friend, a random act of kindness, or even the warm glow of a sunset peeking through the window. That's exactly what Grant's photo evokes for me. It's that sense that no matter how foreboding the horizon looks, there can be illumination in the midst of it. Something that lifts our spirits just enough to remind us we're not alone. When I discovered the hidden village in the picture, it amplified that sense of community and resilience. People living under those clouds, carrying on their day-to-day lives. It's a humbling reminder. Storms come and go, but life persists. Let's dive deeper into the symbolism of that little village. In a literal sense, it's just a cluster of houses, folks likely cooking dinner, minding children, or doing chores. But in a metaphorical sense, it stands for community, for the shared human experience. It represents how we all live under the same sky, subject to the same weather, literal or figurative. Sometimes, we forget we're part of something bigger because our individual struggles feel all-consuming. We look up and see only the storm. But when we zoom out, like I did when I double-clicked that photo, we realize there are countless other people navigating their own storms and glimpses of sunlight too. That's powerful because it breaks the illusion of isolation. It speaks to the idea that if we reached out, or if someone else reached out to us, we'd realize we're all in this together. I talk a lot about connection, particularly how Carl Dunn's writing on undoing the disconnect resonates with me. This hidden village is a visual metaphor for that concept. We might not see each other's stories at first glance. We might just see a moody backdrop. But if we take a moment to look closer, we notice each other, and the shared sense of being under one sky becomes a source of comfort and empathy. Grant didn't plan for this photo. He didn't set out with an itinerary that said, 3:15 p.m., capture heavenly beam of light over the Faroes. It happened spontaneously, demanding a reaction. That's what I love about photography and life. Some of the most beautiful things happen outside our schedule, in the moments we couldn't possibly predict. This ties to something I've been thinking about a lot lately. How do we remain flexible enough to embrace the unexpected? For me, it involves letting go of the need to control every detail. I used to be the person who wanted everything mapped out, from the big picture of my life to the smaller details of a weekend plan. But I've come to realize that leaving room for the unplanned can lead to richer experiences, deeper insights, and maybe even a little more faith that things can work out in ways we hadn't considered. Let's spend a moment on the concept of grace. Sometimes grace is described as unmerited favor, a gift we don't necessarily deserve but receive anyway. That's one lens. Another lens is simply the sense of calm, beauty, or redemption we stumble upon in ordinary moments. For me, discovering that hidden village in Grant's photo was a moment of grace. I didn't earn it. I just lingered with the image long enough to notice. And in noticing, I felt a quiet reassurance that there's more to the world and to each of us than meets the eye. In our darkest seasons, grace can be the thought that keeps us going, the friend who checks in, or the light that breaks through the clouds. It doesn't require a showy display. It can be as gentle as a whisper. That's exactly how I'd describe the light in Grant's photo. A whisper of illumination. A reminder that storms aren't the only story being told in the sky. You might be wondering why I'm so drawn to this particular image. Well, as someone who's dealt with personal challenges, health issues, questions around faith, shifting family dynamics, I know how it feels to look at a horizon and see nothing but clouds. In those moments, it's easy to forget that light can still come through. A big part of my journey has been about learning to trust that possibility. Not necessarily that everything will be perfect, but that there's always a chance for something good or hopeful to appear. Whether you call that a miracle, a coincidence, or just good timing, the effect is the same. It lifts you, if only for a while, into a place of hope. Seeing Grant's photo reminded me of all the times a beam of light has shown up unexpectedly in my life. A friend's message at just the right moment, a job opportunity that arrived out of left field, or even stumbling across a blog post that spoke to my exact situation. Those are moments I treasure, and they fuel my resolve to keep going, to keep believing in something greater. I love collecting stories of everyday miracles, moments that could easily be dismissed as chance, but hold deep significance if we choose to see them that way. Maybe you've had a moment like that. You met someone by pure coincidence who ended up becoming a lifelong friend, or you decided at the last minute to go for a walk and bumped into a neighbor who needed help. These aren't headline-grabbing events, but they carry a profound sense of alignment. Grant's shot is another example of an everyday miracle. It's not about parting seas or thunderous revelations. It's a fleeting moment of light in a cloudy sky. Yet it resonates because it parallels how our own hope flickers in and out, how communities coexist under challenges, how a small shift in perspective can unveil entire worlds we didn't see before. If you've been following my podcast or my blog, you'll know I gravitate toward a few recurring themes: faith, connection, and creativity. Let's see how this photograph touches on all three. 1. Faith. The light piercing through darkness embodies the essence of faith for me, believing that something good can emerge from seemingly bleak circumstances. 2. Connection. Discovering the village reminds us of our shared humanity, how we live under the same sky, and how noticing one another can form an invisible but vital bond. 3. Creativity. Grant's spontaneous act of photographing the scene without perfect conditions speaks to the creative spirit in all of us. It's about trusting the moment enough to capture it or act on it. These three pillars keep showing up, and they dovetail so beautifully in this single image. Sometimes life hands you that synergy on a platter. Everything you're thinking about or working on appears right there in a moment. There's something inherently profound about places like the Faroe Islands. They're remote, rugged, and give a sense that nature is in control, not us. Standing before vast cliffs or an endless sea, you realize your own smallness. Grant's photo, taken in such a landscape, drives home that humility. We may be tiny in the grand scope of nature, but we're not insignificant. Our presence, our lives, still matter, and our capacity for wonder is boundless. It reminds me of times I've felt similarly awed, whether looking at the night sky filled with stars or watching a sunset reflect off skyscrapers in a city. The environment might change, but the feeling of awe is universal. It's awe that links us to something larger than ourselves, whether that's God, the cosmos, or simply a sense of collective human experience. Let's get practical for a second. How can we apply the spirit of this photograph to our daily lives? 1. Pause and linger. Don't be in such a hurry. When something catches your eye or your heart, give it time. Let your curiosity guide you. 2. Zoom in. Literally or metaphorically, take a closer look at what you initially glance over. You might discover hidden gems, like that village in the photo. 3. Stay open to spontaneity. If you feel an urge to create, capture, or even just say something kind to a stranger, go for it. Magic often happens outside strict plans. 4. Embrace contrasts. The best stories, photos, and experiences often come from the interplay of light and dark, joy and sorrow, quiet and chaos. Don't shy away from the shadows, they make the light more vivid. 5. Share what you find. Grant didn't keep his photo to himself, he shared it, allowing others to marvel and find their own meanings. You never know who might need that spark of hope today. I often talk about how faith, connection, and creativity are not just abstract ideas but daily practices. For me, seeing Grant's photograph was a small but potent reminder of how these three can intersect in one fleeting moment. It's the kind of thing that fuels my desire to keep podcasting, keep writing, keep snapping photos, even on days when I'm tired or uninspired, because you never know when a single act of creation might become someone else's beam of light. One more point. Sometimes we hold ourselves back because we think we're not good enough or ready. Maybe we're waiting for the perfect conditions, like a fancy camera, a stable tripod, or hours of free time. But Grant's handheld photo says, just do it anyway. Let grace fill in the gaps. If the result isn't perfect, so what? It might still carry enough warmth and authenticity to change someone's day, or your own. We're all works in progress, and that's okay. I'm learning to let go of the notion that everything has to be meticulously polished. There's a certain raw beauty in the unrefined, spontaneous acts that remind us we're alive, that we're participants in the dance of life rather than mere spectators. As we near the end of this reflective journey, let me pose a question. Where is your beam of light coming from right now? It might be literal, like seeing sunlight peek through your curtains in the morning, or it might be metaphorical. A friend who texted at the right moment, a new hobby that sparks your creativity, a moment of clarity and meditation. Life's clouds can feel heavy, and sometimes we forget to look for the light. Or maybe we assume it's not there. But as Grant's photo shows, even the murkiest skies can offer a sudden burst of illumination. It may not fix everything or clear all the clouds, but it's enough to offer hope, to remind us we're part of something bigger, and to encourage us to keep moving forward. I'd like to invite you to do something. If you have a camera, or even just your phone, keep it handy this week. The next time something catches your eye, pause, look a little closer, snap a photo, even if you think it might be nothing. Later, zoom in, see if there's a hidden detail you didn't notice before. It might be a reflection in a puddle, a bird perched on a far branch, or a person at the edge of the frame. Let yourself be surprised. And if you feel inspired, share it with someone or journal about it. Reflect on how it made you feel. That's the spirit of discovery we're talking about. Because these small acts, stopping, snapping, reflecting, can lead to insights that broaden our understanding of ourselves and our world. Before I wrap up, I want to say a big thank you to Grant for literally stopping the car, braving the elements, and taking the time to share that fleeting moment of light with the rest of us. And thank you to all the spontaneous creators out there who trust their instinct to capture or create something without waiting for perfection. You're giving the world small gifts of inspiration, hope, and connection in ways you might not even realize. I hope this episode has given you some food for thought, a reason to slow down, look deeper, and wonder about the hidden villages in your own life. Maybe you'll find a bit of grace in surprising corners, or a beam of light shining just for you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's reflections resonated with you, feel free to share the episode, drop a comment, or reach out. I love hearing your own stories of unexpected beauty, whether it's a photograph you took or a life moment that shifted your perspective. Until next time, remember that under even the darkest skies, a single shaft of sunlight can transform your view, and a hidden village can remind you we're never alone. Keep your eyes open, keep your heart soft, and keep discovering the magic that's been waiting for you all along. This is Noah, signing off. Take care, everyone.